Taurus, my bull. Here's your reading, Taurus, and here we are, January 2020. If you are new to the channel, what's up? Glad we found each other. And if you are returning, what's up as well? And thank you for sticking with the channel and believing in the channel, and most importantly, for believing in yourself, Taurus. Alrighty, Taurus, let's hop right into your reading here. Taurus, as I'm sitting here really looking at your spread here and just the information that's coming through, Taurus, let me ask you this question, Taurus. Aren't you tired of defending the bitterness? Now, Taurus, whether that bitterness is coming from you or it's the bitterness of a situation, the bitterness of another person, place, or thing, it doesn't really matter. But, Taurus, aren't we tired of defending the bitterness? Being a fixed sign, Taurus, it's very interesting given the fact of that, because when we're a fixed sign, Taurus, we are very fixed in our ideals. We're very fixed in how we see things, and we're very fixed in our perception of things, which is not necessarily a bad thing, nor is it ever meant to be a bad thing. It always serves an evolutionary purpose, Taurus. But what can come from being a fixed sign or having, let's say, fixed energy, you know, um, Taurus, it's like we can get and stand in our own way of other possible solutions or more efficient solutions towards, any situation within our life, Taurus. And sometimes when we choose to do things our own way, despite there being a better outcome or being a more efficient outcome or being a more, I just picked up time sensitive type of outcome, or even an outcome just given to you, something more ideal, something more, more efficient. Taurus, we choose to, look at it and be like, no, and kind of reject it. Taurus, that can become a real issue, Taurus. And speaking of bitterness, Taurus, it's really interesting. Let's break that word down, Taurus. So, okay, bitter, right? Bitter. So, Taurus, bit is, a past tense of bite, the word bite. You know this. But what I'm trying to, convey here, Taurus, for the sake of this explanation here, bit is a past tense of bite. So bite is to like hold or grip with the teeth, And then the word ter, can be looked at or is defined as like 3 times or like thrice or 3 in a sense. So, excuse me, Taurus. So it's 3 times. And also can also be defined as like territorial or just territory. So, Taurus, it's like sometimes, Taurus, through our fixed energy or through our fixed consciousness or fixed mindset, we can really find ourselves biting down and holding our territory. But when we bite down on something, Taurus, we tend to like shred it or we tend to sever it. So it's like, Taurus, we shred or we sever our protection through that bitterness or through being bitter, And Taurus, when we're bitter about things, that's when we choose to avoid a situation. And in turn, we kind of like it's a form of like self-punishment. It's a form of punishment for all parties involved. But most importantly, Taurus, it's punishment for yourself, where it's like choosing to not move forward and then to sever or bite down on a false sense of territory, you know? And, ooh, interesting, Taurus, the time 333 just came up for you. Interesting. But, Taurus, through this process, we can really stand in our way and we can really disservice ourselves. And we can really then, through bitterness, really not take a higher perspective or take other perspectives into consideration because it also causes us to be stagnant. And through bitterness, we are stagnant in an energy and we choose not to move forward. And bitterness is a choice. But bitterness is also a form, Taurus, of not wanting to or avoiding taking emotional ownership of oneself. And then we find ourselves, Taurus, being in that bitterness state of mind or bitterness type of vibration or bitter vibration where we are working on things or we stay focused on things that don't really matter and that are like figments of our imagination. And Taurus, we also end up really not taking the higher road and we end up in this form, Taurus, or in this mindset of like pretending that things are a certain way when bitterness in itself is like delusion. I hope that makes sense, Taurus. It's really just interesting, Taurus, this month because I feel like, light is going to be shed upon this area, Taurus, of where it's like sometimes we hold on to things, Taurus, and we hold on to bitterness or we choose bitterness as a way of, or as a method of avoiding something that is emotionally disturbing for us or that is emotionally trying on our soul and on our situation and on our emotional body. And also, too, Taurus, bitterness is a form of like a false sense of making a decision where it's kind of Taurus like not making a decision is still making a decision, But I just feel like this month there's a real focus on no longer, or the recognition, let's say, of no longer defending Taurus the bitterness, whether it's your bitterness, another person's bitterness, or an external form of bitterness. Interesting, Taurus. The fountain card that you have here, it's a extra like I guess you could say like a major arcana within the fountain tarot deck here. I'm gonna go ahead and read that to you. What the book here says about the fountain card here for you. So it says our interconnectedness on this planet has never been more clear. Technology has given us near limitless access to knowledge, more than we could possibly comprehend. It has illuminated the interweaving and singular consciousness that sages, witches, and shamans have embodied for thousands of years. The fountain card is this eternal context beyond human experience in which anything and everything can happen. Though tarot could have not anticipated this burgeoning connection and awareness, it now begs for its expression. The fountain card represents this expression. Like the Fool, it exists outside of the 21 cards of the major arcana. Beyond the cycles of the earthly world, it reflects both solitary experience and timeless unity. It is the ether in which we navigate our imperfect lives and the substance of life itself. Interesting, Taurus. With the infinity sign there at the top of the card, it's kind of reminding me of like it's where the end begins and the beginning ends. That infinity symbol, Taurus. That cycle of understanding that things will end where they begin and they'll begin where they end. You know what I mean, Taurus? Um, I want to close your reading out with this, Taurus. Something to think about. Bitterness is a false sense of protection and rather a projection of insecurity and an agent for avoidance. All right, Taurus, that's what I'm getting for you for January 2020. If you'd like to book a personal reading for yourself, Taurus, go ahead and visit intuitiveperceptions.com. You can also contact me and get a hold of me on Facebook Messenger. I'm active on there for you guys whenever you need me. And all of that information and fun stuff can be found in the description box below. All right, Taurus, let it go, whatever it is, Taurus, for you. And I promise you, Taurus, the other side of that door is quite enlightening and it's very liberating, Taurus, as to like granting yourself psychological freedom once and for all, you know? All right, Taurus, we'll see you next month. And as always, God bless and love and light.